So it's my pleasure now to introduce Kathleen Slonager, who is the Executive Director of the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of Michigan, or of America, but the Michigan chapter. And Kathleen is a fellow Community Advisory Board member with me for the Cures CAB. And the organization that she works with, Asthma and Allergy Foundation, they are a nonprofit dedicated to the education and training for everyone who is affected by asthma and allergies, as well as the health professionals that care for them. Kathleen has authored several published papers and has over 25 years experience in healthcare. She is a registered nurse, a homeopath, and a certified asthma educator, and a passionate patient advocate. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Kathleen Slonager.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Melissa. I am so excited that each of you are here today. It's so important to learn, and sometimes in our busy lives, too many other things take priority, but learning about health and wellness, that's a priority. So I'm here to talk about some of the information that we presented at this symposium, and to talk about the worst things to do and the best things to do. The first thing I really want to help people understand about asthma is that asthma is all about inflammation. That's swelling inside the bronchioles of your lungs. Oftentimes, people have this idea that asthma is about constriction. And even 10 years ago, some doctors thought that's all that asthma was about, was constriction. We know better now. It's about inflammation inside the lungs. And some of the worst things that we do as health professionals is not treat the inflammation. So we don't give the correct medicine, or we give the wrong medicine. The other thing that I notice, and that research bears out, and just like Dr. Blessman alluded to, is that we don't regard or remove the triggers that make that inflammation worse. So that's another worse thing to do. I feel very passionate and strong about improving your immune system, because asthma and allergies are all about autoimmune dysfunction and dysregulation. So improving our immune system could actually prevent new cases of asthma, and wouldn't that be a beautiful world to live in? And preventing asthma is all about how you can strengthen the immune system. I like to teach people this. Everything we eat, drink, touch, smell, and inject affect our immune system. So we can't go through our life blindly eating, drinking, touching, smelling, and injecting bunches of chemicals and things that alter our immune system. When Dr. Blessman was talking, he talked about what happens in the immune system when we keep getting exposed to these things. This is a chart from Dr. Cambier, and I know you can't see exactly what's happening, but just take a look at the picture. Over here is healthy epithelium. Nothing's happened on this side. And then once we start getting exposed to chemicals and triggers, Dr. Cambier calls this the immunologic orchestra. Look at the mess that's going on over there. That's what's causing the immune dysfunction. And then it leads to a breakdown in the epithelial cells that then really chronically affect the immune system. In the middle, you can see the breakdown. Pretty outstanding. So again, repairing the immune system and stopping that orchestra from happening is definitely going to increase your strength in the immune system. A lot of the things we addressed at that symposium were about air quality. And again, you can't see the exact numbers or anything on this chart, but if you just look at the colors, you can see this is nitric oxide in the Detroit environment. Nitric oxide is one of those chemicals that can cause asthma. The darker the color, the worse the nitric oxide. And so in Detroit, it's pretty heavy. On the other side, with the particulate matter, which comes from factories and industry, look at how the dark colors on that. Those are things that are causing asthma and making asthma worse. So the more we can start to clean up our air, the better. And I'll go over some techniques we can do. And I'm really excited about the talk that Dr. Johnson's going to do, because that's part of building a healthy immune system. So stay tuned for that. Now, let's go over some of the best things to do. If asthma is all about inflammation, the best thing you can do is control that inflammation, yes? So how do you control that inflammation? Two big things. Remove or reduce the exposure to triggers, those things like chemicals and dust and pet fur and smoke. So that's number one. And number two, be on the right medicine, taking it the right way at the right time. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to go into the talk about medications. But if asthma is all about inflammation, you have to be on anti-inflammatory kinds of medicine. And most people, I find in Detroit, do a lot of home visits. And most people, when we do home visits in Detroit, or when I'm addressing them at other venues, they're only on albuterol, or something like albuterol. Is that familiar to everybody? And albuterol does not address inflammation. All albuterol does is open up the airway for only about 4 hours. And if you're only using albuterol, you're not controlling asthma. It's the gold standard of asthma medications are called inhaled corticosteroids. They take care of the inflammation. So remember, 2 venues that you need to do to control or even prevent asthma, if you can remove and reduce triggers and be on the right medicine, the right way, at the right time. Now, let's talk about more of the best things you can do. On the back table, there's a handout. And this handout is a home checklist. Please make sure you grab one, because these are the best of the best of the best things to do. First of all, to recognize a trigger, and then what to do about it. So let me just go over a couple of them that are on these handouts. Pollen, which is a big one, right? We just got through a big pollen season. And so many people were calling us up saying, oh my God, my allergies are worse than ever. So what can you do about pollen? One of the biggest things, of course, is to avoid the early morning time. If you go out walking, do it later in the day. If going to play, make it later in the day. But another big thing folks can do is actually, at the end of the day, take a shower from head to toe, because pollen is very sticky, and it ends up on your hair and all over your skin. And if you don't wash it off, guess where? You go to bed, and you're literally sleeping in pollen, as well as the dust mites. So you wake up congested and sneezy and all kinds of crazy. So a simple thing to do, even before taking medication. But of course, some people have to revert to taking medication. We find that one of the biggest triggers for asthma and allergy is dust mites. So if you are waking up and you're congested or sneezy, or you do have asthma or allergies, the biggest bang for your buck, and we've proved this when we do the home visits, the biggest bang for your buck is to buy the allergy-proof pillow encasement and mattress encasements. 10 years ago, this was hard for me to tell people to do because they were expensive and they were in very special places. Now you can get these things everywhere. Target, Kmart, Walmart, all the places sell them. Just make sure it says allergy-proof, dust mite-proof. And they're actually encasements. That means it's going in, the pillow's going in, the mattress is going in, and it's getting zipped up. And then you gotta make sure you have to be dedicated and wash them every week in very hot water, 130 degrees or more, in order to kill and remove the dust mites. Biggest bang for your buck. When we did our home visits, out of about 40 families who, when they started with these home visits, each and every one of them were in their emergency room more than once, and hospital many times. By the end of 3 visits, out of about 40 people that we could get through to, only 1 family ended up back in the emergency department. And they implemented some of these ideas that we're talking about and that are on this checklist. And they got on the right medicine, the right way, the right time. That's pretty significant. Let's talk about air pollution. What can you do? Because that seems like one of those insurmountable, very difficult things to control. And it is. I can control what goes on in my home. I can get an air cleaner. I can get a pillow cover. I can stop smoking. But it's hard for me to control the outdoor air. One of the most important things you can do is listen to the news or get on the airnow.gov website, and you'll get alerts every day that will tell you what the air quality is going to be. And so if that's the case, you would avoid going out, but especially avoid afternoon and early evening, because that's when ozone and all those particulate matters are worse. On really bad days, it's best to stay inside. If you have respiratory disease, go to the library. If you need air conditioning. Some people actually have to revert to masks. I don't know if anybody's seen pictures of China. And everybody in China, because the air quality is so poor, everybody in China is wearing these masks. This is something Greenpeace put out. And the mask actually can't be just those little surgical masks or the things that you get at they can't be those little paper ones. They have to be what's called an N95. That's the only thing that'll help filter out particulate matter and ozone. I recommend them, especially for older folks who have COPD, which is a respiratory disease. That's one of the only ways they can stop that trigger from making them end up in the hospital. And then lastly, I want to address smoking. Because we're finding when we do home visits, this is a big problem. Across the country, only about 23% of the population still smokes. That's pretty great. It's bad, but it used to be so much higher, right? So all these things we're doing as a culture to change the rules and the regulations, to learn and educate ourselves, it's working. But unfortunately, the group in that 23% that has one of the highest smoking rates are people of color. And people of color, as Dr. Blessman mentioned, also have higher asthma rates. So there's a correlation. And cigarette smoke, cigar smoke can cause asthma. So not only does it exacerbate or make it worse, it can cause. So if you're smoking, it's okay, don't feel guilty, just stop. There's no more, a while ago, asthma educators used to say, okay, smoke outside. But what they do, when they smoke outside, you're still bringing in all the bad elements of the cigarettes on your clothes and in your hair. So the best thing to do, we're talking about best things, right, is to quit. And you know what? I smoked. I understand how difficult it is and how hard it is, but you can do it. You can keep trying and trying and trying until it works. But if you are still smoking, please don't smoke in your car and then have your children or grandchildren or nephews and nieces come in, because that smoke stays on the fabric, and it's as if they're smoking a cigarette. And it's the same thing with the furniture in the house. You can do it. And remember, the smoke from anything that burns, fires, stoves, ovens, candles, incense, those are all things that can make somebody's asthma worse. Yeah, thank you for, that's my very last one. So we're talking about immune system, and we're talking about making asthma better or preventing asthma. Using sprays and cleaners and chemicals in your home. These are the biggest thing that make it worse. Anything that has a smell to it basically is probably toxic. So you can start switching those out now, because everybody, just like the encasements are easy to get, everybody can get a good, free and clear of dyes and perfume kind of cleaner. You can go to Walmart, Kmart, Target, your favorite store. Everybody makes something. I used to tell people to get a green cleaner, right? Because green being, you know, the new environmental concern. But guess what happened one time when I went back in the house? They came out with a big tub of janitor in the drum because it was green. Very toxic. So start switching out your cleaners. No more plug-ins. Those plug-ins are affecting people with asthma and allergies, but also affecting everybody else's immune system. No more sprays to make the house smell better. Start paying attention, and then especially perfumes. People are very sensitive to perfumes. I usually don't wear perfume because I don't want to make someone's asthma or COPD worse. So a lot of good tips. There's so much more. Make sure you grab this sheet on the back. There's one more thing I want you to make sure to get, and that is a flyer that Asthma and Allergy Foundation and My Air, My Health put out to remind people about what our poor air quality is doing to our health. This year, for the first time in my life, I became active in a political way, because that's the only way we're going to make a change. So I work with My Air, My Health and other health professionals to go to the state capitol, to talk to the legislators about fixing policy so that we can be healthier. It no longer has to be and should be about the bottom line. The bottom line is our health and our children's health. So thank you very much.